Miami is setting up to be one of the biggest embarrassments for the playoff committee of all time. But Miami could just fix that problem.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, the number one sports podcast network out there. Thank you all so much, especially my everydayers, for making that the case. Tennessee can play spoiler, or can they? That's a very loaded question. And then I'm running it back with my best bets, and fade if you want money is all I can say. So anyway, let's talk about Miami. The fact that they're behind Notre Dame is completely absurd, utterly ridiculous, totally insane, and yet it's Miami that could make this really easy for the committee. Now, the committee members, man, I'd like to think at some level they understand what they are doing right now. I don't know that they do. But if they're aware of how bad it will look and how bad it will be for the sport because the ramifications will go just beyond one season is my concern, and I think that of others as well. If they don't put Miami into the playoff, the conversation around non-conference scheduling is going to go completely haywire, and it's already bat bleep crazy in a lot of ways. But the committee deep down, if they're starting to realize that, if they're starting to hear, did you see they put Miami into their playoff projection last week? If it ended today, Miami doesn't even control their own fate to make the college football playoff. And yet the committee put them in the bracket projection that got put out on social media. Oh, this is what it would be like. Whoa, in what world? Miami could beat Pitt. But if SMU and Virginia both win, Miami's not going to the ACC championship game. Is a ranked win over Pitt going to be the difference between Miami going past Notre Dame? Look, Notre Dame won at Pitt. Maybe they're waiting for Miami to prove that they can win at Pitt, which would be weird logic, but okay. I'm just focused on the end result here, not so much with the process, if that's what winds up happening. But Miami could solve all of this by just losing the game. And the committee deep down, I think, is just desperately rooting for that to be the case. If Pitt beats Miami, which is very feasible, Miami is on the road playing their 7th straight conference game against a Pitt team that saved their season last week. You might have forgotten about them after they, lost to Notre Dame at home in pretty convincing fashion. But then they went on the road and beat Georgia Tech. And if they win, they're likely going to the ACC championship game. The tiebreakers, I talked about them on Wednesday's show. Man, they're all over the place. A lot of different possible scenarios there. There are 3 one-loss teams, a handful of 2-loss teams that could still make it if they win and get help. But bottom line, it's Virginia, it's Pitt, and SMU are the one-loss teams. They're the most likely to appear in the ACC championship game. I'm once again going to reiterate my firm stance against any automatic bids, including for conference champions, for this very reason. Because the ACC and Group of 5 being guaranteed that they get a team into the playoff could be what winds up leaving BYU and Miami out of the college football playoff. Heck, maybe even Alabama. Who knows? But probably not. So if Miami loses this game, there will be no more debate. The committee won't take flack. It'll be something you call back to when you have discussions about how much do you trust the committee, how much do you want them in control of the sport and all that sort of stuff. But if Miami loses this game, which they totally could, then everything gets easier. That would be the committee's biggest sigh of relief. Oh, we don't have to look ridiculous. Miami 9-3. And by the way, I would not argue the point. If you can't keep the same record, especially when Notre Dame is playing mostly the same conference as Miami, at 9-3, Miami shouldn't be in the playoff. I never want to see a 3-loss college football team from any conference, including and especially the SEC, into the college football playoff. So, for the game itself, this does not set up well for Pitt. I think there is a very real chance Miami wins this game comfortably. Now, on the one hand, this could be a really fun quarterback battle. Mason Heinschel for Pitt has been playing great ball since he started earlier this year. He took over for Eli Holstein, and he's only lost one game, and that was to Notre Dame. And that was at home, when his team was an underdog, just like in this spot. On the other side, you got Carson Beck, who's had some high highs very quietly. Since you last saw Miami lose a football game, they've just kind of blown everybody out. They've won very comfortably. Here's the problem that I foresee for the Panthers in this spot and Pat Narduzzi. Miami's front four is capable of taking over a game. Ruben Bain might be the best edge rusher in all of college football. Pitt's offensive line, get ready for it, has allowed 36 sacks this year. 3-6 through 11 games. They're giving up over 3 sacks a game. And now you get a Miami team that is motivated to make a point in this game. So as much as I think the upset potential is real, I think Miami wins. I think they actually roll against Pitt. I'll take the Hurricanes 34-20, and it is comfortable for Miami in this spot. And the committee, therefore, gets very uncomfortable as a result. And we'll see what happens. So, another game to mention. This is a win and in. I am really glad, as we've expanded the playoff and taken away the value of some regular season games, that we still can get games like the one taking place in Norman. Because Oklahoma is playing LSU. And this is very simple. Very, very simple to me. If Oklahoma wins, they are in the playoff, without question. If they lose, they should be out of the playoff, without question. That's what my rankings will reflect. I don't know that the committee is going to feel the same way, because the committee might say 9-3 Oklahoma's schedule. Because that narrative started before the year, because on paper they did have a really tough schedule. But now you look at it and go, well, wait a minute. LSU's not anywhere close to what they were supposed to be. And well, Missouri, they're a pretty good team. I think Missouri's pretty, but they lost a quarterback, and then Pabula was coming back off injury. It wasn't exactly a pretty win. I am not putting, especially since they lost to Texas by 17. It's one thing to lose. It's one thing to lose by 3 possessions. Apply the same logic, SEC folks, that you are punishing BYU for losing big against Texas Tech, to Oklahoma losing big against Texas, who's not as good as Texas Tech this year. And the ranking reflects that. So I think Oklahoma's going to win. If they lose, I want them out. If they win, I want them into the playoffs. Simple as that. Win and in. Give me Oklahoma. They don't beat people that big. The offense, I don't have a lot of faith in it. The run game, the pass game, the John Mateer hero ball game. I don't love Oklahoma's offense. LSU's defense has talent. What's their motivation? What's the coaching going to be like? I'll take the Sooners to win 20-13. Just kind of an ugly, grinded out sort of game. But win and in situation in Norman. Let me know your thoughts in the YouTube comments below. Hit me up on Twitter. I've got all sorts at @LockedOn_CFB or at @SMcLaughlinCFB. Doesn't help if I tell you where to reach me if I don't tell you how to reach me once you get there, I suppose. I mean, you can see it if you're watching on YouTube, of course. But Tennessee can play spoiler for Vanderbilt. Or can they? First, this episode brought to you by Omaha Steaks. The holidays always feel a little easier when you already know the perfect gift, and Omaha Steaks makes it almost too simple. Whether you're treating yourself this season or sending something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks delivers handcrafted perfection right to their door. And this week is the best time to jump in because their cyber sale is here and the deals are huge. What kind of deals? I will tell you. But the quality with Omaha Steaks is exactly what you hope for. Incredibly tender steaks, rich flavor, and meals that make hosting or weeknight cooking easier. I enjoy doing both of those things. Omaha Steaks is here to help you as well. Save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale. And for an additional $35 off, use the promo code COLLEGE at checkout. All those deals available for you. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code COLLEGE. Terms apply. See site for details. Check them out at omahasteaks.com. Tennessee hosts Vanderbilt. this week. And if the Volunteers win, again, the committee has to be a Tennessee fan. They have to be very closeted Tennessee fans on that playoff committee, because Vanderbilt at 10-2, do they want to deal with the noise, with the blowback that will arise if 10-2 Vanderbilt doesn't get into the playoff? It doesn't appear like 10-2 Vanderbilt really has much of a chance to make the college football playoff. And that's because in the biggest games of Vanderbilt's season this year, they have come up short. And so their resume as a result is it's just okay. That's the reality. Now, FanDuel has this 2.5 points in favor of Tennessee because they are at home. And look, Tennessee does not have a ranked win this year. Tennessee's resume isn't very good. It's why they're nowhere near the college football playoff. But for Vanderbilt this season, their best win probably against Missouri. Texas beat them pretty soundly. You could say LSU and that they contributed to the LSU death spiral. I understand it, and I'm not opposed to Vanderbilt being in the playoff discussion. The reality, though, and this goes back to an offseason conversation I had with several folks on the show and not on the show, that when you give more at-large opportunities, well, it's just going to benefit the SEC and they're just going to get everything they want. Vanderbilt winning at number 19 Tennessee. They come into this game ranked 14th. Do you think they're going to jump all the way to where Alabama is, who they lost to? Are they going to go ahead of Miami and BYU? That'd be pretty ridiculous, if we're being honest, especially if Miami were to beat Pitt. I don't think you could rationalize that. Not even the committee would be able to rationalize that. And so Tennessee can spoil Vanderbilt's playoff hopes, but I don't know how big those hopes actually are. I think the Vols are going to win this game. Interesting quarterback matchup, because both guys, Joey Aguilar for Tennessee and Diego Pavia for Vanderbilt, are very capable. They are good playmakers. They have a lot of it factor to them. The one that turns the ball over less probably comes out on top. And I think that Tennessee, who's having a good season after the whole Nico drama, and we'll see what they do in the offseason, but I'm probably going to be bullish-ish. Bullish-ish. Is that a thing? Can we do that? I can, because it's my show. But, well, it's your show, but I just happen to host it. So anyway, I think Tennessee handled everything right with the Nico situation. They're a good team. They're not a great team. We know that. They are not a great team. But I think they are good enough at home to beat Vanderbilt here. This is going to be a tight, contested game. That's what Vegas thinks. That's what I think as well. I think you're going to see a lot of points in this football game. Not a classic SEC showdown where the winning team has 13 points. No, this is going to be the opposite of that. Give me Tennessee. Watch this. 38-34. Lots of points. Tennessee's got to take away the Vanderbilt run game and make Diego Pavia do everything. They got to take away Diego Pavia's running element. They do that, I think they'll win the football game. Speaking of 10-2 teams not likely to make the playoff, Utah travels to Kansas. This is on Friday. It's probably already happened, perhaps, as you're listening to or watching this show, or it is soon to kick off. They go to Kansas, and Kansas State just walked in, ran all over them to the tune of 470 yards. Not kidding, real stat. Kansas is an offense that can go up and down the field. They've got a veteran quarterback in Jalen Daniels. They've got an offensive philosophy. Here's what they don't have: a defense. Utah is favored, according to FanDuel, by 10.5 points. I think Utah is going to make the defensive adjustments from last week that they clearly weren't able to make during the game. I don't think they let that happen twice. I think they go on the road. I think they roll Kansas. This is not one of my best bets of the week because it's a big number on the road. I think they get back to their ways of blowing teams out when they need to make a statement and give the committee the best possible impression they can of their football team going into playoff selection. I think Utah and Vanderbilt are likely to be a pair of 10-2 teams that get left out of the playoff, and you know what that does? Maintains some semblance of the old school regular season urgency. So as disappointing as that is for Utah and Vandy fans, those results have to matter. So Utah, I think, ends up at 10-2, which was exactly where I had them record-wise before the season. I'll take them to win 38-20. They knock off Kansas, get a bounce back on defense. How about Virginia Tech at Virginia? The Cavaliers' offense this year, boy, it has had some duds. It has had some moments that have just been straight up not very good. And I think Virginia is a good story. I think Tony Elliott, along with Jake Dickert at Wake Forest, should be the co-ACC coaches of the year for the job that they have done, because it's been nothing short of remarkable. Just as a reminder, I'm going to throw this up for the YouTube audience. My preseason ACC power rankings, I had Virginia at 13th and Wake Forest at 16th. Yeah, this is the chaos conference. I think I nailed the middle of this conference, like from 4 to 8. Boy, I feel pretty good outside of Syracuse in there. But boy, this has been the chaos conference. So the preseason for me, 13 and 16 teams being on the precipice. Wake Forest plays Duke. They're a 1.5 point favorite on the road in that one. And if they win that game, they'll be 9-3. Virginia wins this game. They're in the ACC championship game, I'm pretty sure. Tiebreaker scenarios, man, they'll give you an absolute headache. Which Virginia offense is going to show up? That's the question for me in this game. Because Virginia Tech, their fans have got all sorts of energy. Program's got a bunch of juice. Those Hokie players might very well be playing to put something on film to show James Franklin, hey, this is what I can do for you. And in a rivalry game like this, anything could happen. Anything could happen in a rivalry game like this. Because Virginia Tech's got nothing to lose. They're all about the future. And yet, I don't know. Virginia's favored by 8.5 points. Would it shock you if the boys from Blacksburg went to Charlottesville and wound up getting a win? It wouldn't shock me. I am going to take Virginia to win. 27-20, I think they get it done, and they'll be playing for the right in the ACC title game to go to the college football playoff. It's a wild scenario. There might be a tiebreaker where they could miss it. Anyway, if they win and Miami beats Pitt, then that's it. Because then Virginia will be a one-loss team, and there can only be one other one-loss team, and that's SMU, who plays Cal this week. Those long road trips in the ACC, I don't know. I don't know. What does Cal do now that they fired Justin Wilcox? That can go one of two ways. You can roll over, or the locker room can be galvanized. We shall see. All right, best bets. Where do we go? What do we do? How do I try and bounce back? Well, it goes something like this. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. So, I have had 2 disastrously bad weeks leading into rivalry week, and I've got 6 more picks coming up in this third segment. And guess what? If you fade the picks, you might have an even better holiday weekend and be able to go get that gift you've wanted to get for that special someone. Because boy, I am cold like the North Pole. It is not great. Maybe I'm about to heat up. You're going to find out. All odds provided by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I am really going to put my own theory to the test. And look, have my theories been good on my best bets provided by FanDuel? No, not all the time. But there's no better time to put it to the test than in rivalry week, where you take the team that's getting points because crazy things can just transpire. Let's start with the duel in the desert. This is the Friday night game in the Big 12. Arizona into the top 25. Wildcats having a good second season under Brent Brennan. They go play a Sam Levitt-less Arizona State Sun Devils team that's figured out how to make Jeff Sims a winning quarterback. I got to tell you, I never thought those words would come out of my mouth. But that's what we're looking at here. Kenny Dillingham is doing arguably as good of a coaching job this season as he did last year when he, won the Big 12 and was within one play of going to the national semifinals against Ohio State. Arizona State is at home, and they're 1.5 point dogs. Give me the Sun Devils to win. Close game, 30-27. I'll take Arizona State at home. That's kind of a principal bet because I like the way Arizona has played. But Arizona State quietly, because they're not going to wind up in the Big 12 championship game, at least in all likelihood, they have quietly been playing some of the best football in the conference. So at home, And I don't have to give up any points. Arizona State plus 1.5. Next, the Iron Bowl. How could you not? I've got Bama winning 23-21, Auburn plus 5.5. Upset potential is real. I don't trust Auburn's offense enough, but I don't know how much I trust Alabama's offense on the road, and Auburn hasn't won this game since 2019. But each of the last 2 times that they have played at Jordan-Hare, they have been within 5.5 points. I think that continues again on Saturday. So that's just a few too many. This started out at kind of 6.5 or so. I think it went down to 4.5, back up to 5.5. I think this is a field goal game. Really, no matter how you slice it, and I think Alabama's going to win. I've got to win it by 2. Maybe it's with a late field goal. Maybe they redeem themselves after the field goal debacles of the Oklahoma game. So those are the first 2. One more underdog, and again, this is more about principle. If you think that's wrong-headed, all right, go for it. Speaking of teams quietly playing good football, Wisconsin over the last couple of weeks has beaten Illinois, has only lost 1 time. They beat Washington a couple of weeks ago. I tell you what, Luke Fickell got announced as the head coach for 2026 and maybe beyond, and ever since that announcement, the Badgers have figured something out. Does that mean I'm going to like them going into next year? Not really. I need to see what they do in the offseason first. And I'm not a big fan of these teams that, start out 1-5 or 6 or whatever, and then they make a push. Oh, see, we got it figured out. Yeah, that's the first half of the season counts, guys. So Wisconsin in a rivalry game. This is one of the more underrated rivalries in college football. Minnesota and Wisconsin really don't like each other. They really, really don't. Minnesota is at home. I'm rowing the boat this week. Give me the oar, the paddle, whatever you want to call it. I'll get in the boat with PJ Fleck and say, just like Arizona State, giving up points, it's got to make you think. But when you're getting points, Minnesota plus 1.5, they win outright this is a low-scoring game. Not a lot of points. 17-14. Minnesota finds a way to get it done. Now for the favorites. And this is just how it's worked out this week. I've got 3 underdogs and 3 favorites. I've got 3 games in the Mountain West that I like. Let me start with the one that I like the least, but I'm going with anyway because I love Matt Entz as a head coach. Matt Entz at Fresno State was on USC staff. He was at North Dakota State before that. I think Fresno State has quietly made one of the best hires in the Group of 5 ranks in all of college football. And in the coming years, once the new Pac-12 gets put together next season, they are going to be a player for the college football playoff. I really believe that. And another hire in that same regard is going to be mentioned here in just a moment. But they go to San Jose State, who they're okay. They are okay. But I like the way Fresno State's playing football right now. Minus 3.5 on the road. Swallow that. They win 27-20. Here's the other one. San Diego State at New Mexico. Jason Eck, Sean Lewis. These 2 guys' names, you might have seen them pop up from time to time on coaching hot boards, and that's because both have done a phenomenal job. Eck came from Idaho. He's gone to New Mexico, who lost Bronco Mendenhall to another Mountain West future Pac-12 school at Utah State. He's doing all right there. These are 2 really good coaches, but boy, San Diego State has covered for me before. I'm going to pick them to win and cover again. It's that San Diego State defense that I like. And late in the year, when it gets a little, they're playing in New Mexico. I don't know how cold it's going to be exactly. Haven't checked the weather forecast. But defense always travels on the road. I think San Diego State's offense does enough. They win this game 20-10 at New Mexico in a low-scoring battle. And finally, this is probably my favorite, perhaps my best bet of the week. If there was just one, if you're going to fade the picks, I can't blame you because I have been ice cold for the last couple of weeks coming into this rivalry group of games. But this is the one pick I'd say, no, don't fade that one. Fade the rest however you like, can't blame. But if you go and take Wyoming plus 8.5, I'm not going to be able to tell you that that's a good idea. The other ones, yeah, I can rationalize it very easily. Hawaii minus 8.5 against Wyoming. The rough times for Wyoming's football program. They have not scored double-digit points in a game since mid-October. Hawaii's offense, just a couple weeks ago, put up 38 on San Diego State, who I think has the best defense in the conference. So Hawaii giving up 8.5, it's a big number. I don't think this game is particularly close. Hawaii minus 8.5, Wyoming, let's say they get to 10 points. You telling me the Rainbow Warriors, who can throw the football around? Alejado at quarterback, good player. You telling me they're not going to get to 20? Yeah, I'm not going to tell you that because I think they will. 31-10. This is Hawaii rolling over Wyoming. That is my favorite bet of the week. So the underdogs are Arizona State plus 1.5, Auburn plus 5.5, Minnesota plus 1.5. The favorites, Hawaii minus 8.5, Fresno State minus 3.5, San Diego State minus 1.5. Fade at will, everybody. Those are the best bets for the week, provided, of course, by our friends at FanDuel. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. Enjoy the football, and until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.